Republic of Finland was declared in 1917 and established itself in a bitter civil war against communism. Now, 22 years later, Finnish independence is about to be snuffed out as the old enemy returns. The Red Army marches into Finland. The legendary Carl Gustaf Mannerheim leads the Finnish defense forces, under-equipped, poorly armed, and vastly outnumbered. Only high morale and skillful leadership can tip the scales back in Finland's favor. You will take the role of Lieutenant General Carl Lennart Osh, a talented Finnish officer and Marshal Mannerheim's most trusted commander. As the country's foremost defensive expert, lead Finland in the 3 wars fought on its territory throughout 1939 to 1945, and drive any and all invaders from your northern homeland, no matter which flag they're flying. Hold the line, General Osh.
And so, the Soviet Union shows its true colors. Their troops have crossed our border in force. Gentlemen, the war that began in Poland has finally come to us.
The Soviets claim our troops shelled their positions near the village of Mainila.
An absurd accusation, and they know it. Our artillery was pulled back precisely to prevent an incident like that.
Exactly. They simply needed an excuse to invade us. Now, they've created one.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who fired the first shot. Now we have to defend ourselves.
It does matter to the League of Nations. Our government wants to appeal to the League for assistance.
That's nice, but the League can't help Finland if there is no more Finland to help.
Just so. We must hold the line, General Osh. And you are the best defensive tactician we have.
You'll have your hands full, General. The Soviets plan to overwhelm us with sheer numbers.
A few more months to prepare would have helped. Our main defensive line is still unfinished.
Then we'll have to rely on your skill and the sisu of our soldiers. I am placing my trust in you, General.
I won't let you down. But that appeal to the League, I suggest you tell our government to hurry.
Brave soldiers of Finland, our century-old enemy is attacking our country again. The soldier's trust in his leaders is the first condition for success. You know me, and I know you, and I know that each of you is ready to fulfill your duties until death. We fight for our home, our faith, and our fatherland.
Dozens of dead and wounded in Helsinki. What a travesty. A terror bombing of a civilian target.
The Bolsheviks haven't changed one bit since 1917. Only now their weapons are far more destructive. You did us all a great service by stopping them, General.
They're far from stopped. But thank you. I was simply doing my duty.
Indeed. Prime Minister, what about our Western well-wishers? Will the British send any real help?
They are sympathetic to us.
So they won't.
Not right now. The British promise to monitor the situation. The Swedes say they want to assist us as long as they can keep their neutrality.
Sweden and its precious neutrality. We Finns are their last line of defense.
Several states have agreed to sell us their surplus arms, but overall they are cautious. Nobody believes we can hold out against the Soviet beast on our own.
Then we must prove them wrong. We will stall until the British intervene. And if not, will deal enough damage that the Soviets abandon their offensive. And if not, we'll scatter into the woods and fight to the last man.
We held the line, but just barely. Our men felled Stalin's slave soldiers like logs, but they just kept coming. It was like the Baltic front lines back in 1916.
It seems Stalin's Great Purge left the Red Army's high command full of incompetent buffoons. Meanwhile, our troops are led by Finland's finest.
True, but excellent leaders are worth only so much without tanks and artillery. We must arm ourselves quickly, or the troop morale will suffer.
Then morale should be our top priority. An adversary who feels inferior is in reality so.
Good news! We'll be getting new Western weapons soon.
Splendid. I'll take as many outdated French cannons as I can get.
Spare me your wit, General.
Iro, our soldiers have to take out Soviet tanks with satchel charges. It's suicide. We need modern weapons, ones that keep our soldiers safe.
In that case, you'll be glad to hear that Prime Minister Ruti got us $10 million from the Americans.
10 million? What a sly fox.
That money will serve us well in the future, but your work cannot wait, Rush. I have a priority assignment for you.
Indeed. The Soviets are hitting us hard at Kola. Losing that sector would be disastrous.
So I've heard. I'll be glad to oversee the defense there.
Kola will hold. I am certain of it. This time we'll test your other talents.
Which ones? I have plenty of them.
Sometimes nothing helps morale more than hitting your enemy hard on the nose. You will depart for Tolvajärvi and help Colonel Talvela retake the village.
An offensive against the entire Soviet Eighth Army. Field Marshal, that is a big risk.
Talvela is our best offensive tactician. The Reds won't know what hit them. But if he attacks too hard and exposes his flanks, I'd be grateful if you watched his back, Ush.
Good to see you again in person, Field Marshal. How long has it been?
Too long. The feeling is mutual, old friend.
It is good to be back. Back and fighting again.
I could tell, General Talvela. You were certainly enthusiastic.
Of course I was. The Bolsheviks have a lot to answer for. And when we retake East Karelia, there will be a full accounting.
Invade the USSR, you mean? We're holding out against an overwhelming force, if you haven't noticed.
Don't worry. You see, Colonel Talvela led an incursion into Karelia back in 1919. It didn't end well, and he's still bitter about pulling back.
And you have yet to pull that stick out of your ass. I think I'll hold on to my dream as well. Stranger things have happened, Iro. And by the way, it's General Talvela now.
As always, the image of maturity.
Gentlemen, enough. From here on out, you'll be working together frequently, for better or worse.
Well, that will be interesting.
This headquarters will be a well-oiled machine working towards our victory. Any cause for disruption will be eliminated. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, Field Marshal.
Gentlemen, I bring good news. The Soviet Union has been expelled from the League of Nations.
Fantastic. About damn time too.
Does that mean the Western powers will finally intervene?
Our Prime Minister is working on it, but so far, all the League has offered us was lip service.
Oh well. Don't worry, Field Marshal. We'll just keep doing more with less. The Mannerheim line will hold.
Splendid. Now down to business. The enemy has held Suomsalmi for a week now. They are massing their troops there.
That is an ideal place to launch a strike at Oulu. They could split our country in half.
And then mop up our army in detail. We won't make it easy for them. But if we don't stop the Ruskies at Oulu, our defeat will only be a matter of time.
So you understand the seriousness of the situation. Gentlemen, you must depart immediately and link up with General Silasvuo. We must take Suomsalmi back from the Reds.
It will be done, Field Marshal.
And with pleasure. You know what the Ruskies are singing? Receive us, Swami the Beautiful. Ha! Our Swami is a feisty girl, and if you barge in on her uninvited, she'll give you a hell of a black eye.
The Soviets have begun a massive offensive across the Karelian Isthmus. Our defenses are stressed beyond their limits.
Their tanks outnumber ours 100 to 1, and they started giving them infantry escort. It cost them 100,000 dead, but the Ivans are learning.
We knew from the start that we'd be facing a superior enemy. I will see about adjusting our overall strategy. But on the ground, Osh, I must rely on you.
We need more heavy weapons, or at least the ammunition for the guns we have. Field Marshal, I am a general, not a miracle maker.
We've fought the Soviet war machine for 2 months now, and we are still holding fast. If that's not a miracle, then I don't know what to call it.
The Soviets refuse to negotiate. It looks like forcing us into an unconditional surrender has become a personal matter for them.
Those fools don't know what personal means, but we'll teach them. Any word from the Swedes?
Oh, nothing new. They say they will provide us with all assistance, except military assistance. Same thing from the Americans. They send us food, warm clothes, and their regards.
That's something. Also, I have been corresponding with our British friends recently.
Oh? Do tell.
Sir Winston Churchill, their First Lord of the Admiralty, is a fascinating fellow. He hates communism and is sympathetic to Finland's plight. Perhaps through him, the British Empire might find a way to help us after all.
And so the Mannerheim line has finally been bridged. Now we fall back for the interim line, which is mostly rocks and ditches. This doesn't bode well.
Nothing we can't adjust to. The Mannerheim line was never meant to stop the Soviets anyway.
Talvela, don't get philosophical with me.
Couldn't if I wanted to, Professor Oosh. Not everyone here's been to an academy.
I've seen my fair share of frontline combat, if that's what you're implying.
Oh, I know. You were with the Jaegers too, weren't you?
Royal 27th Battalion, 1916, Riga Bay. We do not have mercy nor homeland, and our happiness
is at the tip of our sword. So surely, as a Jaeger, you know a thing or two about a flexible defense?
I know it's a lot more complicated than it would be if we just stopped the Red Army in its tracks. But now, at least our enemy has been softened up.
Not only that, our enemy bleeds. With every drop of blood, he fears us more. And we Finns are a peace-loving folk. But God help you if we smell blood in the air.
I'm sure glad you're on our side, Talvela. Nothing is over yet.
Nothing. The real Mannerheim line isn't rocks, ditches and barbed wire. It is something greater.
Oh, brief me on the Viipuri situation.
The Bolsheviks are maneuvering to encircle the city. We have evacuated everyone we could.
The fall of Viipuri would open the road to Helsinki, our capital and the very heart of Finland. We cannot let it happen.
Field Marshal, our weapon stocks are almost empty. We cannot stop Meretskov 7th Army by sheer willpower.
Oesch is right. Reason dictates that one of two things must happen. Either the British send the forces they promised us, or we must sign an armistice with the Reds.
The Reds would only see that as weakness. If they put more pressure on us, the entire front might collapse.
Then we must show them strength. They want to drown us in bodies? Let's show them what that looks like. Losses can be too terrible even for them.
A meat grinder like that cannot go on for long. And you know it.
It only has to work long enough for the Soviets to consider an armistice. Oesch, how many men can we muster in the area, and how quickly?
3 divisions against the Soviet 7. Wolinius' coastal group is the closest to the city. If he hurries, he can intercept the Reds in a few days.
If you hurry. General Oesch, you are now in command of the coastal group. Depart immediately and give the Soviets a proper Finnish welcome, one that they will never forget.
Understood, Field Marshal. If this is the last battle we'll fight, at least General Talvela will have the time of his life.
The British aren't coming anytime soon. I am told they still can't get permission to transit their troops through Scandinavia.
At this point, I can't even blame our neighbors. The world's on fire. Everyone is afraid.
The Nazis and the Soviets are carving up Europe. They may soon come to blows themselves.
And in this new world, we are about to be left defenseless. I have reviewed the Soviet terms. This armistice will be crushing.
And many in our country will see it as a Soviet victory. Yes, but there is a silver lining.
What is it? Russia is taking revenge on us for leaving their empire in 1917. A century-old tale for us Finns. Another small nation is ground up by a great one.
Small nations may live in great nations' shadows, but that is also where they will win their freedom. In December, nobody believed we stood a chance, but we have held.
At a terrible price. But I agree. Thank God it's finally over.
Over? I doubt it. The Soviet Union won't abandon its plans of conquest. The most important thing this armistice has won us is time.
I see. Well, if the story of Finland isn't over, then we must prepare for the next chapter.
We once again face the threat of a Soviet invasion. The communists demand we turn the nickel deposits in Petsamo over to them.
You need nickel to make steel, military-grade steel. And the way Europe is going, such steel will be in high demand.
Indeed. A new war is coming our way, bigger than before.
Not a new war, but a continuation of the previous one. And it may be our only salvation. The Soviet Union will never give up its attempt to conquer Finland.
And after the Soviets stole our lands, the populace is eager to restore justice. Isn't that right, General Iroh?
We've mobilized 600,000 men and women. Our army is better armed and equipped than ever before, thanks to our dear German partners.
Spare your judgment, General. We've made a deal with the devil, yes, but in a world full of enemies and ineffectual allies, what other option did we have?
We mustn't depend too much on the Germans, though. If we tie ourselves too closely with the Axis, our list of options will become non-existent.
But if the Soviet Union attacks us again, our only hope will be a quick German victory, which they will achieve.
In war, one never can be sure.
Please, America is silent. The British have been forced out of Europe. The Nazis are despicable, but there is no stopping them.
If war does break out, it will give us a chance to recover our stolen lands and to secure our borders. But, Mr. President, if war can be avoided, it should be.
That may be so, Field Marshal, but the Soviets will make their intentions known soon enough. And when they do, I think we will all be thankful we have at least one real ally. Citizens, our peace-loving nation has once again been made the target of a vicious attack. Only 19 months since the previous one. Our hardened defense forces enter the battle equally courageous and ready, but better armed and equipped than ever before. And my trust in them and their leader of worldwide renown, Field Marshal Mannerheim, is absolute. Citizens, for the annihilation of this eternal threat from the East, for safeguarding the happy and peaceful life of future generations, we now take up arms.
Our army enjoys considerable successes in Karelia, but at a price for the home front. We won't be able to demobilize in time for the harvest.
Don't worry. There will be no famine. I have arranged to expand our grain purchases from Germany.
So we aren't allies with Germany. We simply depend on them to feed us.
Just like they depend on us for our nickel. In this terrible new reality we are in, we cannot be too picky about our friends. The Germans give us real help.
Not because of kindness. They want our men fighting and dying for their cause.
They want us to help them capture Murmansk and Leningrad. You have to admit, control of those cities would protect our borders very well.
And bury whatever Western goodwill we still have left.
Field Marshal, it is far too late to depend on goodwill. Our troops are on the isthmus. We must choose one way or another.
I will confer with my staff, Mr. President. Let us handle Murmansk first. Then we may think about Leningrad. It is time to repay our debt to the Germans. We must assist them in their Lapland offensive.
Not against Leningrad. Our forces are already in position to bombard the city.
We may not need to if we help the Germans in Murmansk.
Murmansk is beyond the polar circle. The Germans will be out of their element. Should we give them a lesson in Arctic warfare?
No need. They have overstretched themselves and lost flexibility. We will play a secondary role and fill the gaps in their defenses.
The Germans' attack is focused on the port. The mission of severing the Murmansk railroad falls to us. Once we do that, we can support the German assault on the port itself.
That kind of mission goes beyond a secondary role, General Iroh.
But this could save many lives in East Karelia. If we cut off the port of Murmansk, the USSR won't be getting any British aid.
That's my point. The British aid. If Finland helps the Germans take Murmansk, the British will see it as a direct attack on their interests. That is a fight we do not need. Our focus must be on the land taken from us. No less, but no more.
The Germans couldn't capture Murmansk and retreated. We expect the British to start shipping their equipment into the USSR in the next few weeks.
This could have been prevented if you had only given the order to cut the railroad.
I won't question your authority, Field Marshal Mannerheim, but your strategy confuses me. We had total victory in our grasp.
Did we? Imagine we capture Murmansk. Now turn the clocks forward a year or two. If the Germans win and the USSR collapses, then sure, there might be a place for us in that new world. But if the Germans lose, we are Germany's major ally alongside Italy and Japan. If that's the case, for Finland there would be hell to pay.
What makes you think the Germans will lose? They've just about destroyed the Red Army in a matter of weeks. And if we help them take Leningrad...
Only when the time is right, General. For now, we must focus on the reconquest of Karelia.
Talvila's point still stands. The Germans have rolled over Europe. Do you honestly believe the Reds can stop them?
Finland must be prepared for any outcome. The times are such that even the Dalai Lama has a greater use for a gun than a praying mill.
We have almost retaken all of Karelia. I knew this day would come.
If by almost you mean the upcoming offensive over rugged terrain.
We are Finns, Osh. Rugged terrain is our element. Let the Ruskies worry about it.
Even so, the front line is currently 250 kilometers wide. We need to capture Petrozavodsk to get a foothold, and quickly.
You'll be facing the Soviet 7th Army. If nothing else, they have impressive numbers. This will be no walk in the park, Talvala, no matter how enthusiastic you are about this attack.
Damn right I am enthusiastic. I promised the Karelians I would return. And now, 22 years later, here I am. But then, what would a damn ice cube like you know about enthusiasm?
Talvala, what's your tone?
Don't worry, Ursh. I used to think Jaegers were an acquired taste, but I see now that it's only Talvala.
And you were neither a Jaeger nor a Tsarist officer. Why are you in the HQ again?
General Iroh is a superb organizer and strategist, Talvala. Our successful operations are a testament to his skill. He planned them all personally.
Must get dangerous here at headquarters, drawing pretty arrows across the map.
Talvala, enough!
Don't worry, I'm done. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a goddamn promise to fulfill. And so there is finally justice in the world. From east to west, Karelia is ours.
We sure came a long way. Feels like just yesterday we were scrambling to defend our borders. Now every day we take back more of what the Soviets stole from us.
Then why are you so sour? Our cause is just. Our kinsmen are freed, our old borders are restored, and now we are fortifying them.
That's the problem. We crossed the 1939 border weeks ago. Now we're on a raid inside Russia itself.
It finally happened. The British have declared war on us.
Prime Minister Churchill warned me some time ago. I tried to be diplomatic, but he doesn't bluff, and always makes good on his threat.
Field Marshal, this is as clear a signal as any that we must commit fully to the German cause.
Do you want Helsinki bombed into dust? We must be very careful.
But if we don't help the Germans crush the Red Army, the Russians will counterattack.
And if we bite off too much in Russia and the British strike at us, it might just prove too much for our little northern democracy. And the time has come to secure the Gulf of Finland and complete the reconquest of our lost territories.
Here, I thought we would finally be taking Leningrad, like we were supposed to from the very start.
We're now in a much worse position to attack the city than last autumn.
The Bolsheviks want us to attack Leningrad. Don't forget, in 1939, they invaded Finland and used that city's security as a pretext to attack us.
So, since when do we worry about Stalin's opinions?
If we attack Leningrad, the Western Allies will help them and put more pressure on us. We cannot assault Leningrad. We must secure the Gulf of Finland and nothing more.
Well, if the USSR collapses, who cares? If we help the Germans now...
Talvala, this isn't a debate. No more talk of Leningrad. I have a priority assignment. You will accept it or join the reserves.
Don't worry, General Talvala won't resign. His talents, after all, would be wasted behind the front line. And I will help with the planning.
Good to know. Crossing the frozen Gulf of Finland will require careful preparation.
In that case, I hope the ice holds. Are you with me, Talvala?
Oh, well, of course I am. And if it all goes to hell, I hear a swim in icy water is really good for your skin. 25 years, 5 wars, and not a single defeat. Here's to the Marshal of Finland.
To the Marshal of Finland.
Marshal of Finland, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Speaking of, how did Herr Hitler's birthday visit go?
I will say this, Finnish generals are much better company.
No doubt. So what is your first command as the Marshal of Finland?
Do we finally take Leningrad? Or are you saying that for my birthday?
Goodness, no. No, our positions are secure. It is time we let some of our people go home to their families.
A wise decision. We have a labor shortage at home.
Yes, our men deserve some rest now that the front lines have quieted down.
Is this the right time? There's troubling news from the south. The Germans can't seem to break the Russians at Stalingrad.
But they have the Russians tied up. By stopping our advance on Leningrad here and now, we show the world that Finland's fight with the Soviet Union is a separate war from the one waged by Hitler.
Indeed, and God willing, both wars will be over soon.
The Germans have cut off all material aid. We face a food crisis, a fuel crisis, and an ammunition crisis all at once. And now, the Soviets are attacking.
I was hoping you at least would give me some good news.
Good news is in short supply these days. What is the situation on the front lines?
Things are as desperate as in 1939. We lack effective anti-tank weapons, and thousands of Soviet tanks will invade Karelia soon.
Jumalauta. A wonderful time to be blackmailed by the Germans.
What do they want?
They will resume the supply shipments, heavy weapons, fuel, grain, and everything else we need. If we stay in the fight.
And to be ground to dust and dragged through the mud along with the Germans when the reckoning arrives.
Field Marshal, we don't have too many options, aside from capitulation, that is.
That is not an option, Mr. President. You know what Stalin does to his own people. We cannot turn Finland over to that maniac.
This is dire. The Soviets are pushing us against the old borders. We're fighting from the bunkers of the old Mannerheim line.
Those forts were barely sufficient against the older Soviet tanks. The new ones will blast our positions to pieces.
Ush, you must retreat to the VKT line and rally everyone you can.
It may not be much, considering many of our men are still at home. How quickly can we recall the reserves?
I'll have them ready and headed your way in 48 hours.
Thank you, Iroh. I suppose until then I'll just do what I do best. The impossible.
Put back in Soviet hands. Meanwhile, we have a massive resource crisis on the home front.
President Ryti is handling it. I pray he sorts it out quickly. Anything else?
Yes, we have a radiogram from our spies in Stockholm. Like we expected, the Bolsheviks will only accept an unconditional surrender.
I see. Give my regards to our Secret Service, and make sure the Germans don't find out about these inquiries.
Understood, Field Marshal.
If the Reds want an unconditional surrender, they'll have to wait a long time.
This is when it all began, remember? 3 years ago to the day.
3 years? For me, it began back in the Civil War of 1918. But I see what you're saying.
Right now, we're all that stands between the Soviets and Finland. We and anyone nearby we can contact.
Ha! In that case, I better find us some fast runners.
Taldala, sometimes I do feel like this is all a big joke to you.
It's not. But our men in the field, they're thinking, boy, am I glad I'm led by the Jaeger. Not every soldier is so lucky. And we cannot let them down.
You're right, of course. Our boys on the line are more scared than you or I can afford to be. If the Soviet bombers blot out the sky, I suppose we'll fight in the shade.
It's your time to shine, Ush. You are the defensive specialist. And whatever your plan is, you'll have my support. One Jaeger to another.
The Soviets are trying to breach sectors Tali and Hantala. If they succeed, Soviet tanks will be in Helsinki in days.
The Germans are watching us like vultures. If we ask them for more supplies, they'll demand something we cannot possibly provide.
In any case, we must prevent a Soviet breakthrough, or we will need a lot more help than just German supplies.
Iro, inform the field commanders. General Ursch will take command of all the troops in the Karelian Isthmus.
All of them. Are you sure?
Ursch has done the impossible more than once. If anybody can hold the line, it's him. And with all the troops and weapons we have available, he'll have the best chance for another miracle.
My regards to General Ursch. Exceptional performance. I can't believe our defenses at Tali y Hantala held so well.
President Richtig, we won a month or two at best.
Yesterday we had mere days.
True, but this war cannot continue. We need an armistice with the Soviets.
I wish you had told me this before I sent the Germans a signed letter promising we would never agree to such a thing.
After 6 years of war, there is little decorum left on either side. If Finland cannot win, Finland must survive.
The enemy is preparing to breach the front line at Vuosalmi. I guess the peace talks fail.
So far they have. The Soviets think they can crush us completely.
They might. Our last chance might be the Salpa line and a defense in depth.
No, Salpa is too deep within Finland, and the communists will lay claim to any territory they have marched over even once.
While they have some solid arguments on their side. At Vuosalmi, there are 30 Soviet artillery pieces for every single one of ours.
You've faced such odds before.
I've faced even worse, but our army is melting away. Whatever the newspapers say, our troops aren't stone-cold killers. They are near their limit.
I will see to it that it all ends soon and properly. But if we are to negotiate, military success is the strongest argument Finland can have.
Then it's decided. I'll just have to show Stalin that he can conquer Finland, but he cannot occupy it. And he will never hold it. To Mikkeli to see the Soviet demands. Our army will have to be reduced to its peacetime size. Massive reparations too. And we'll be giving them Petsamo.
Percolate.
Needless to say, with a reduced army, we'll have no chance the next time the Russians invade, and we know they will.
Looks like they want to weaken us first, and later cut our throats. But what choice do we have?
I thought you, of all people, would want to keep on fighting.
I am no fool, nor am I in a hurry to die. But I'll be damned if I run when my country burns.
Now that I can agree with, and I'm sure most of our people will agree as well. We'll just have to be a little smarter about the way we fight.
That sounds like you, all right. What is your plan, Professor Ursch?
Let's just say your expertise in guerrilla warfare might be invaluable in the very near future.
Soviet demands are growing. They want trials and scapegoats. It seems they have files on everybody in this HQ.
Have they made any concrete accusations?
Certainly. They want to charge several of our officers with ordering the execution of prisoners of war. Among those officers is General Karl Lennart Ursch.
That is absurd.
Indeed. Ursch did not strike me as a mass murderer, but this is Soviet justice we are talking about.
Ursch has caused the communists no end of grief. Now those dogs want to have their petty revenge on him, and they'll pretend it was a fair court that ordered it.
Then I will do all I can to ensure our courts handle the case. If we have to turn even a single Finn over to those butchers, let it be me. At least my sins are all in writing.
You seem to have a lot on your mind, Field Marshal.
This is a travesty, Iro. All of it. We are giving away our territories, surrendering our generals to be tried by those red savages, and now they want us to give them full military access.
But do we have a choice?
We do. They think they've made us harmless. We need to strike one last blow to show them Finland is willing to coexist, but we will not be Russian slaves. Another magnificent victory, gentlemen. Just when I thought the Bolsheviks wouldn't budge on their demands, you made them.
Indeed. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics won. but small and determined Finland managed to finish second.
There is still much work to be done to secure this peace. Something tells me it won't be easy.
Your intuition is spot on, Iroh. Now that we are officially at peace with the Reds, they want us to facilitate the German evacuation of Lapland.
Attack the Germans while they are retreating, you mean?
Those men are soldiers, and they are already leaving anyway.
If only. Our secret service reports that the Germans want to capture Sursare and Petsamo, so they don't fall to the USSR.
This is how it has been with us and the Germans. Our interests aligned for the briefest moment, but we were never true allies, and we were never friends.
If these are the Soviet demands, I see no point in further discussion. I'll start packing warm clothes.
Good. You were all dismissed.
This is obscene, and you know it. You know it, Field Marshal.
Dismissed. All except General Ush. This war has been hard on you, General.
The only easy war is no war at all.
Still, when I heard about you and the Soviet prisoners of war...
Field Marshal, you know me better than that. The communists are lying.
Leonard, a communist lies every time he opens his mouth. But that's neither here nor there. If we are to have peace, they want to put you on trial.
Soviet trials are just theater before the execution. Call it like it is. They want to have the last laugh.
The good news is they won't get one. You'll be tried by a Finnish court, and only after the war is over. That much we made sure of.
Thank you, Field Marshal. This war is a long way from over, though. I don't know how much time I will have, but I'll try not to waste it.
Gentlemen, brace yourselves. The retreating Germans are raising everything in their wake.
Lovely. So we won't be parting on good terms after all.
We might as well just get on with it. Drive them out and let this rotten war just end.
Our target will be Tornio. General Payari's forces are standing by for an amphibious landing.
Sounds risky, but if we do this quickly, we can chase the Germans out of our country. Their retreat will become a rout.
And they'll stop terrorizing the civilians in Lapland. Heaven knows our people have had enough.
Well, I'll be. You aren't such an ice cube after all, Iroh.
From you, I'll take that as a compliment. I cannot call serving with you a pleasure, Talvela, but it has been an honor.
For me as well. I have to admit, Jaeger or not, you are a hell of an officer. You too, Ush. Whatever they say about you and those POWs.
The honor is mine, gentlemen. Now let's get to work. The end of this bloody war is long overdue. Wanted to see me, Field Marshal? Well, here I am. A wanted criminal.
You return after all those months in Lapland, knowing full well what awaits you here.
Are you saying I shouldn't have come back?
I'm only saying that in all the commotion up there, if you had crossed over into neutral Sweden, we could hardly do anything about it. Nor could the Bolsheviks.
It would have been easy enough to go into exile and run from justice. But for that, there would have to be justice in the first place.
I could not say it better myself. Still, understand what this means. Being tried as a war criminal is a stain not easily washed off, no matter the verdict.
I won't run, Marshal of Finland. Let the Bolsheviks judge me. Let them have a consolation prize for how badly we beat them up.
That we did. You did, General Ush.
Serving under you has been an honor, Marshal Mannerheim.
The honor is mine. Those communist dogs don't deserve to judge an officer like you.
Such is the price of peace. Now our people don't have to die for their country anymore. I just hope they do a good job living for it.